Good morning. First, let me extend my very best wishes to all the mothers watching this morning. This is your day, and I hope it's a great one. We'll talk more about Mother's Day later in the program, but first, have you thought about inventing a product or starting a new business? I want to tell you about a place that may be able to help you. That's coming up right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Now, here's your host, Don Ryan.
You know, as we think about jobs and economic development for our communities, it's good to understand that most of our success in that regard comes from the people who live here creating those opportunities. That's why there are real benefits to having resources available to help those people who have an idea that could blossom into something with real growth potential. This morning we'll find out there is a place where that kind of help is available. Let me tell you more about it with the help of David Olola. At the corner of Fair Avenue and Presque Isle and Marquette is a building with a sign that says Invent at NMU. Recently we visited there and asked the founding director of the project, David Olola, what is Invent at NMU?
Good question. So Invent at NMU, I like to think of it as a sandbox. It's a place for open exploration for people of all walks of life, young people, old people, to come in and explore a product idea and see if it makes sense to try to move that through some incremental stages and find out if that product could be successful in the marketplace.
And how did this come into being?
So it's a challenge that I think a lot of people have, and that is we put a lot of emphasis on the entrepreneur, but if you go upstream a little bit from the entrepreneur towards the innovator or the inventor, there wasn't really a platform that allowed them to explore without knowing all of the other burdens of being an entrepreneur. So most inventors probably are not all salespeople or marketing people or finance people. And Northern had this natural platform right here. There is the whole value chain under one roof. So if you look at our staff, our accountants, our project managers, our mechanical engineers, our industrial designers, those are the pillars of innovation. And we had these students learning all of these processes. And now they get to apply it in a real-world environment. So really it came out of this need that we felt to support individual invention and innovation and tie it into the regional supply chain.
While visiting at Invent NMU, we had an opportunity to talk with Jared Swajanen. Jared is just starting the process with the Invent NMU staff.
Me and one of my friends came up with an idea, and this place recently opened, so we came in here to check it out, got some information, and we set up an appointment to come meet with the people here, and now we're just trying to figure out what's out there and trying to explore our idea.
What kind of help do you hope to get by coming here?
They are going to help us, like I said, explore the idea and figure out what is out there and what we can do to make our idea become reality.
Particularly, what are you looking for? What do you hope to gain from this? Obviously, you'd like your product to be successful, but what information can they give you to make that possible?
Well, they're going to help us with, looking at the idea, and then they're going to move it on forward from there with money. If we need that, they can introduce us to investors. We can talk about actually making the product if we want to do that. They have workshops downstairs and 3D printers and whatever we need. They're willing to help us, and they have lots of things to offer.
Okay, it's probably going to be a drawn-out process. You guys have the patience and commitment to.
Hopefully within the next year. That's how long we want to span it out. So I definitely have the patience, and it looks like they do too. So it'll work out good, hopefully.
And for the person coming to you with an idea, this is not a totally free service, but it's a pretty inexpensive service, considering what you provide.
Right, it's a fairly inexpensive service, and we certainly have people that say, you should be charging more, and really what we're trying to do is find the balance of the appropriate level to charge so that we can be operationally sustainable, but also not so much that it prevents people from taking something they're passionate about and moving it forward. So we charge the general community $150 to do a validation report of their idea or their concept, kind of in three categories: inventions, concepts, or design. And we take a look at those ideas. We try to run it down to make sure that it's not already out there, to assess the market, the manufacturing ability of those products. For $150, we're probably spending about 20 to 25 hours on a validation report. And that really isolates the idea into a binder. And it allows that inventor to communicate based off kind of some fixed notions that we're able to kind of bookend the idea with.
When we come back, we'll get an interesting perspective from some students who have been part of this program. It's just 2 minutes away. Getting back to business, we continue to explore what happens at Invent at NMU as we talked again with David Olala, as well as 2 students who work in the program. Here's that report.
So even in just the short time that we've been operational, we've had over, I think this morning now we're at 56 potential clients have come through the door with an idea. And you think about that on scale, a town of 23,000 people and 50-some ideas walking in the door in a relatively short amount of time. So from the students' perspective, they get to look at 50 different ideas that they may not have explored, and so they get paid for it as their job. But before they even graduate and go off to bigger and better things, they get this exposure to just tons of different ideas that they can track down and work with. So, and we're finding that that's transferable. It's transferable when they go and they do job interviews. This really gives them something to talk about. The experience is transferable when they go out and start applying their skill sets at the first job. So a lot of first jobs might have 1 or 2 tasks that you do over a long period of time, and this is hundreds of tasks over a short amount of time that really gets them comfortable working in a professional environment before they ever graduate.
We took the opportunity to talk to 2 students who work in the process to get their perspective on what happens at Invent at NMU.
My name is Rachel Greep, and I'm a mechanical engineering student here at Northern.
And where are you from originally?
Well, I actually grew up as a military dependent, so I graduated from Germany and then decided to come to Northern.
How did you wind up here at Northern?
My mom is from Michigan, so I get Michigan residency. I actually came here as a nursing student and decided pretty early on that that wasn't for me. So I ended up doing mechanical engineering, and I was already here. So.
And those are your career aspirations, to become a mechanical engineer?
Yes.
What kind of work were you hoping to do?
Definitely product-related work, some research and development for whatever industry that I like.
How did you get involved with this project?
My professor, Cale Polkinghorn, from the CNC program at Northern, recommended me for the Invent project when Dave came looking for a student.
My name is Sarah Nixon, and I'm a human-centered designer here at Northern.
Tell us what a human-centered designer is.
Yeah, so any sort of product design, designing any sort of product that you interact with, such as your microphone, and then just thinking about it from the human perspective, how you're holding it, maybe how people interact with it, is it easy to use, easy to understand, just thinking of it from like the user's experience.
How did you get involved with this particular project?
With this program, my professor Peter Pless told us about it, and it relates exactly to my major. Designing products, we bring products to market here, so it was the perfect fit to stop in here and talk with Dave.
Has it been a learning experience too? Even though you're here to kind of help people, in a sense, to teach them, have you learned some things by going through this process as well?
Definitely, I have learned some things. I get influence from everyone here that works in conjunction with me. So I learned from the industrial designer, and I learned from the accountant, and I learned every little bit that goes into making a product. So to put it into words, it would just be too hard.
Has it been what you expected, or?
It's been a lot more than I've expected. I expected to come in here and just do mechanical engineering, but from the first day, it's been a mixture of obviously mechanical engineering and everything else being a part of whatever goes into the product development.
So what kind of specific advice do you give these people who are looking at maybe starting a new business or developing a product? What can you tell them?
It's not always simple and it's not always easy, but in the end it's definitely worth it. So just work through the challenges that come your way and stick to it.
Have you been surprised by the ideas that you've had a chance to look at?
Yes, so we've looked at so many ideas that it ranges from cookware to industrial products, and there's just no guessing what comes through our door the next product.
I've learned many different things, such as from products from a different standpoint, such as the mechanical standpoint, not just thinking about the aesthetics of the product, how it looks and feels, but thinking about how it functions a little more, and the cost of your components. Like, you can't just put like 10 components into this product because the cost is going to go up a lot. So how can we narrow that down to like 3, for example?
Has being part of this project been kind of what you expected, or have you been surprised?
Yeah, it's giving me a lot more opportunities than what I ever expected. It's given me a lot of connections and allowed me to network for future jobs, like applying 2 jobs and saying that I'm working as an industrial designer instead of just being a student gives me that like leg up in my program.
Both students agreed the process allows individuals to draw their own conclusions about the viability of their project.
We try very hard not to tell people if it's a good idea or not. We put the decision making in the client's hands, so at every stage along our process, there is a point where the client can go out and do a discovery. So their peers and their friends or people from the community can put input onto their product. So the inventor themselves gets the chance to decide if they want to move forward or not.
And as a result of this experience, have you been motivated to come up with your own business, or will you be content to work for someone else?
Through this process, I definitely like the individualism for it. So I would like to come up with an idea to take through, but for now I am content with doing my job.
They ask a lot of questions about it and we kind of guide in that, but we just kind of focus on them to go out and talk to people and see if they would buy that product. So getting a better understanding and not just us telling them, but allowing them to kind of research and define those categories for themselves.
Do you ever have to deal with the issue of in the back of your head saying this is not a good idea?
Yes, but that doesn't come across. Okay. Yeah.
Has this experience motivated you to come up with a business idea of your own?
I have a lot of product ideas, just being almost graduating and been in like a product design degree for about 5 years now. So I've come up with a lot of different product concepts, and eventually, yes, I would like to market a couple of them.
It was good to talk with both Rachel and Sarah to experience the kind of enthusiasm they bring to the program. We'll be back with a few final questions for David Olola after we take this break. Well, they can see us both. Joining us on the set now is David Olola. We have a few additional questions for Dave about Invent at NMU and his involvement in the project. Obviously, from the things you said previously on the show, you've had a lot of interest. It was really interesting talking to the students. Obviously, it works well for them. Talk about how this fits into the university program, and their primary mission as an educational institution.
Right, so our goals are very much aligned with the university as a whole. We want to attract students because we have compelling programs. We want to retain those students. We want them to, if they make the commitment to come to Northern Michigan University, to stick around and to get their degree. And then graduation obviously is a priority. So if students come to the university, we want to hold them here, we want to give them a great education and a global experience. And then we also want to make sure that they get placed into great jobs. So those are our 4 key measurements. Economic development is a positive spillover from doing our primary job, which is to educate young people to move into the world and to make it a better place.
Now, even though a sign kind of popped up overnight that said Invent at NMU, obviously a lot of planning had to go into this and a lot of other people had to be involved as well, I assume.
Absolutely. So, kind of going through the chain of command, if you will, Bob Esslinger has been VP of Innovation, Workforce Development, and Community Outreach, instrumental at working with the university and working with the rest of the administration. The late Paul Lang was instrumental in supporting the notion and being a champion of the idea early on. David Haynes, former president, was also instrumental in early support of the program, handing it over and presenting it to Dr. Erickson, who saw the idea and the merit and the opportunity. And even several members of the Board of Trustees. So these things just don't happen overnight, and they're certainly not something that happens with a single person. You have to build a positive sense of opportunity. You need to bring in the collaborators, and all of those people I mentioned were fantastic collaborators working through this process and bringing us online, if you will.
We only saw 2 students. We only had a chance to visit with 2. We caught up with them as the school year was coming to a close, but how many students did you have involved in this project?
So at this point, I think we're over about 16 students in just a short amount of time. So we have our 4 core, our pillars, which is a business management student, a project management student, the mechanical engineer, and the industrial engineers. And we're trying to keep those seats warm for 40 hours a week. Our goal is we're open 9 to 5. And we would have warm seats for 40 hours a week. Students have a limitation of only being able to work 20 hours. So eventually we see 8 students in those roles. And then we also have project-based students. So if we do a social media project, or if we have some writing requirements, even sales or marketing, we can bring students in on a project basis as needed. And that allows us to create an opportunity to spread the work out through a greater population of the students at NMU. And the rest of the faculty and staff also have opportunities to participate.
We only have moments left, but didn't have a chance to talk about your background, but you've spent most of your life as an entrepreneur. How do you feel in this new role as a mentor?
It's incredibly rewarding. The young people in the program have so much energy. They see so many things that we might not see because of their unique perspective on the world as technology changes, as our social interactions change. So my goal is if I can learn as much as I'm mentoring, then that's success. But it makes me feel young, and it's a very rewarding opportunity to work with these very young, smart people.
And and we have such a rapidly changing world. Getting young people involved has to be very important as we look to the future.
Oh, no question. And I see these students, and as we met Sarah and Rachel. Sarah graduated this year, and I just know she's off to influence the world through her human-centered design lens, if you will. And I can imagine that we'll be reaping the impact of this experience for many years down the road because we've created this platform.
And this will continue throughout the summer?
Yes, we're open 9 to 5 through the summer, and we're fully staffed, and we're responding to new ideas almost on a daily basis.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in. Sounds like a great program.
Thanks, Don. I really appreciate it.
Back to talk about Mother's Day in just a couple of minutes. Well, today is Mother's Day. If anyone deserves a special day, it is the mothers of this world. And remember, no matter how old you might be, your mom is still your mom. There were a number of women who introduced the idea of honoring mothers as far back as the 1800s. But the person most recognized for establishing this special day is Anna Jarvis, who organized the first official Mother's Day celebration at a Methodist church in Grafton, West Virginia in 1908. Following the success of her first Mother's Day, Jarvis, who remained unmarried and childless her whole life, resolved to see her holiday added to the national calendar. Her persistence paid off in 1914 when President Woodrow Wilson signed a measure officially establishing the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. While Jarvis had initially worked with the floral industry to help raise the Mother's Day profile, By 1920, she had become disgusted with how the holiday had been commercialized. She outwardly denounced the transformation and urged people to stop buying Mother's Day flowers, cards, and candies. Jarvis eventually resorted to an open campaign against Mother's Day profiteers, speaking out against confectioners, florists, and even charities. I imagine a lot of mothers are happy right now that she wasn't successful in that last effort. You deserve a gift at least one day a year. So here are some celebrity quotes about mothers. Mothers of teenagers know why animals eat their young. That author is unknown. I want my children to have all the things I couldn't afford. Then I want to move in with them. That's from Phyllis Diller. Calvin Trullan said, the most remarkable thing about my mother is that for 30 years she served the family nothing but leftovers. The original meal has never been found. And an old Chinese proverb says, there's only one pretty child in the world, and every mother has it. And let me wrap this up with some things moms would never say. How on earth can you see the TV sitting so far back? That one may be a little outdated in this day of big screen, high definition TVs, but I know many of you will remember being told by your mom as a kid not to sit so close to the TV. How about mom saying, yeah, I used to skip school a lot too? Or just leave all the lights on. It makes the house look more cheery. How about, let me smell that shirt? Yeah, that's good for another week. Go ahead and keep that stray dog, honey. I'll be glad to feed and walk him every day. And don't bother wearing a jacket. The wind chill is bound to improve. And finally, can you imagine your mom saying, I don't have a tissue with me, just use your sleeve. In any case, moms, this is your special day. Make the most of it. It only happens once a year. A couple of reminders before we go. If you missed the show, want to watch it again, or recommend it to someone else, it will be available on the internet. Just go to uppermichigansource.com. The latest version is usually available starting at about noon tomorrow. And if you have some thoughts you want to share with us, our email address is theryanreport@chesstv.com. I'd like to hear from you. Thanks to David Olala for joining us today. I hope the information that he and the others at Invent at NMU provided was helpful to you. Again, remember, this is your Mother's Day. Make the most of it. Make it special. The folks at the Today Show are anxious to get started, so enjoy the rest of your day, and please join us next Sunday morning.